Are you woken yet? And a great Intercontinental Championship match to talk about as WGS-TV reviews Monday Night Raw for the week of December 11th, 2017. Hey YouTube, are you ready for your hot tag? Because if you are, it's definitely time to work.
This is Chris Hero, and you're watching WGS-TV.
What's up, guys? I'm the Russell Gamer. Welcome back to another episode of WGS-TV. We're back to doing wrestling reviews right here on the channel, and joining me on the Raw review this week, ladies and gentlemen, you know him as the CEO of Hardcore Wrestling Radio. Be sure you go to facebook.com/groups/HWR chat room to check out them. Ladies and gentlemen, he's back, the one, the only Rick Head. Rick, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing all right, but I had a major hangover after listening to the garbage with Matt Hardy, but we'll get to that in a minute when you're ready. So,
yep. Going into Raw this week, there were several things to look forward to. The angle of Samoa Joe versus Reigns, the Absolution gimmick, the feud with said Wyatt and Hardy, Strowman and Kane, and just how would WWE rewrite the angle with the Cruiserweights now that Rich Swann has been suspended. So with that being said, let's talk about Raw. Joe would open up Raw by calling out Roman Reigns and started boasting about how he didn't need people to back him up like Reigns does, and the fact that he was personally responsible for Ambrose and Rollins not being the Raw Tag Team Champions. Now this, obviously, Rick, would bring out the championship to fall into, I guess, anybody under the age of 12 could see that this was a trap set up by the heels of Joe and the Bar.
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely. But Samoa Joe, he's a badass. He's the type of person that usually doesn't hide behind anybody. I mean, how many people have you seen, like Braun Strowman call out, Samoa Joe, even though he was a heel, had no problem getting in his face, and of course, yeah, the fact that he did have, align himself with the Bar, to pretty much, sabotage them was a great idea.
Yep, this whole segment right here helped tell the story of the night of the Bar and Joe versus the Shield. I'm going to say good opening. I'm going 3 out of 5 for this one, Rick.
Yeah, I wouldn't go 3.5 on me. I'd give it a solid 3. You could see where they were taking the story, and again, I've always been a huge Samoa Joe fan, so that's my props.
The story of Absolution continues this week as it was Paige and Mandy Rose who was making her in-ring debut on Raw, taking on Bayley and Mickie James. And Rick, I gotta say, for her in-ring debut on Monday Night Raw, Rose looked really good, and I just don't mean because of her big boobs.
I'm gonna tell you, she looks like she has promise, but to me, she still seems a little green. But if she continues to grow, I can definitely, see some promise in her, but time will tell.
And for what it was an okay match. Nothing sensational, but not bad. Now, I know there are other bigger YouTubers in the YWC that would disagree with me on this, and they have every right to have a different opinion from mine, even Rick. But as far as I'm concerned, my channel, my review. The finish of the match was Paige kicking James in the face, allowing Rose to pick up the win, which again makes Absolution look strong and unstoppable. Rick, my score, I'm going 2.95 out of 5.
Again, this was a solid match. The ladies, especially Absolution, they're going to need to, kind of prove, stability, especially with Paige's return. Again, I think like 5 or 6 years ago we never said it, but the women are really coming into their own.
Oh, definitely a huge step up from what was then classified as divas in WWE. I'm really glad that they finally went in the good, positive direction and changed it from divas to actually female superstars, because that's what they are. Now, onto a bit of a touchy subject because, as I was saying, other people have a right to have a different opinion, and on this topic right here, both me and Rick definitely have different opinions when it comes to this. And I'm talking about the war of words that continued this week with Bray Wyatt and woken Matt Hardy. Now, as to the actual context of what they said, I couldn't tell you. But to me, I like how they're evolving a little bit of the the Woken gimmick because they introduced what was the glass effect transition between the Bray Wyatt and Woken Matt Hardy. I thought that was a little bit of a different thing. I'm not really sure how broken glass would tie in to Woken Matt Hardy's gimmick, because from what we've seen from Broken Matt Hardy in TNA, the way he was able to reinvent his character and reinvent his career and actually got the eyes of the wrestling industry upon him just for that gimmick. I'm still trying to figure out how they're going to tie in just that broken glass gimmick, Rick, into the Woken character. But again, this is something that we both agree on. I for one, like the fact that they're bringing Woken Matt Hardy into WWE, because again, this is, just going back to what I said, the broken gimmick and the ability that Matt Hardy had to reinvent his character and reignite his career, to me, speaks volumes of what he can do talent-wise, but you don't see it that way.
No, absolutely not. Let me just say this. Matt Hardy Matt Hardy alone by himself, he is nothing. The Hardy Boys, yes, truly, he's status with fire. He has a legendary status as a tag team member, not as an individual. Now, the Broken Hardy gimmick over Impact Wrestling was interesting. At first, it was a little pathetic, but it got funny, and I kind of liked it. But then, even before they left, you could tell it was starting to dry out. And this is all about just Matt Hardy saying, "No, it's mine, it's mine, it's mine." And the promo, and I'm going to say this, and this is 100%, no exaggeration, the worst gimmick in wrestling history, the worst promo in wrestling history. The Matt Hardy gimmick, it just shows you that Matt Hardy has no real creative ability, because he would have been able to recreate a new character, but clearly he can't.
Some people would say James Ellsworth has the worst promo in history, but anybody with two hands and whatnot, but
you know what? Sorry, but you know what? This guy can cut a better promo than that fucking thing.
But anyway, up next it was Finn Balor taking on Curtis Axel. To me, Rick, this was more of a time filler joke, and that's what Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel are right now. Pretty much just jobber jokes.
Absolutely. It was when I saw him come out with the whole neck brace. I'm like, oh, he's gonna wrestle with a neck brace. That's gonna be funny. And I'm like, okay, all right, I can get into this. He took it off, and I'm like, this match, this just became a really pathetic squash match as opposed to a squash match that you could at least laugh at. But yeah, that's all it was. It was a time filler.
One thing we can say, last week's match with Dallas, it was actually worked really well. It wasn't technically a complete squash. It was still a decent match, but we would not get that here. It had the glimmer of being something interesting with the beatdown before the start of the match, but it was quickly faded as Balor hit the coup de grace on Axel to pick up the win. Basically, the way to describe this, talent enhancement match. That's the only way you can describe it. I'm going 2.5 out of 5 on this one, Rick.
Again, I'll agree with you on that one. Bo Dallas, there's something missing. He's a good wrestler. He's a good in-ring, worker, but there's just something about his character, who he is. It's just not grasping. I mean, he's trying the new look with the sunglasses, the dressed-up nice thing, and it's kind of working. But I think maybe if he had gone in line with his brother as the Wyatts, that probably would have given him a special shot.
And you know what? It has the chance to do that, because there is a possible scenario with the Wyatt Hardy feud that he could introduce Bo Dallas into the family, and Matt Hardy could bring back Jeff Hardy as Brother Nero. It's a possible scenario. We're not saying it's 100% going to happen, but it's a possible scenario as what they could do if they decided to go that route.
Well, let me cut you off real quick. Jeff Hardy is out on injury for I think another 8 or 9 months. So for him, if they're gonna make this storyline last that long, I will be quickly changing the channel. I will not be watching Raw. I'll just watch SmackDown. Because I'm sorry, I will be glad when this whole fucking gimmick is over. This whole storyline, it's pathetic. Matt Hardy truly has no creative skills whatsoever. Even in the ring. he's very, what's his best match by himself? As a single competitor. I can't even consider one. Can't even think of one. Jeff Hardy.
Think of one. Him and his brother Jeff.
But there you go. Again, his brother Jeff. Without Jeff, what is he? Nothing. He's nobody. Period.
Up next, it was the first match involving the Shield versus the Bar and Samoa Joe, as it was Seth Rollins taking on Sheamus in a very good match, in my opinion, Rick. I gotta say, I like how they were playing up the weak knee angle with Rollins, who's had major injuries in the past involving his knee, but it was still a really good match, but I just wish there was more to talk about when it comes to it.
Yeah, I mean, it felt more like a filler match. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disrespecting Seth Rollins or even Dean Ambrose. Both are great guys. Actually, all four definitely have promise. But I think, because they're doing this whole Bar Shield storyline. But yeah, Rollins, he sold the knee pretty good for a while. But again, I'll get to another person who sold better. Overall, decent match.
Yep. Up next, it was... if I didn't give the score, I'm going to go 3 out of 5 with that one.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.
Up next, it was the Second Chance Fatal 4-Way with Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, Ariya Davari, and Tony Nese, with Drew Gulak on commentary. And I have to say, Rick, I was actually quite impressed with the job he did on commentary, selling up not only the Fatal 4-Way match, but the number 1 contenders match next week and the eventual, I need to English well, Cruiserweight Championship match.
Yeah, I'll give that. I mean, Drew Gulak, I've seen very little of him. I don't watch 205 Live, so he, and the president kind of gimmick or the politic gimmick, I kind of like. And, yeah, he was good on the mic. So, do I see him winning the title? I don't think so. The way they're pushing it, you could tell that Enzo's going to turn on him pretty quickly.
Yep. Now, for those of you who live under a rock and don't understand why Rich Swann had his opportunity revoked, was due to his arrest in Florida and subsequent suspension over the past weekend. Now, was this match worked just as well as the one last week where Gulak won? I have to say so. Now, Cruiserweights, in my opinion, Rick, have really shined on Raw these past 3 weeks, which brings much positive attention towards 205 Live.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say I watched the show 205 Live once or twice, and for some reason it's too much. But when they have the 1 or 2 segments of the cruiserweight matches, then it's a relief because they do have some great spots. There's a lot more athleticism, a lot more. We see a lot of almost like, I won't say shoot wrestling, but it's high flying without suicide dives.
And you know what's something that's really too much? What the hell are they doing with Nia Jax and Enzo Amore?
Oh my god. And the sad thing was that Nia was coming across as, alpha woman or alpha diva. She's a good looking lady. She's a plus size, but still for her size, she's very, very attractive. She came across as you mess with me, you're a badass. And now she has extensions that goes all the way down to her thighs. And she's all giggly and smiling. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, really?
It's kind of one of those moments where you just want to facepalm. The finish of the match was Cedric Alexander hitting the lumbar check on Davari to pick up the win. I gotta say, great match. I'm going 3.5 out of 5 with this one, Rick.
You know what? Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with a 3.5. Great match. There was a lot of high action, but again, even though they are cruiserweights and the high flying, if you watch, it being a little bit more precarious in some of their moves.
Yep, definitely. Up next, the Intercontinental Championship was on the line as Roman Reigns defended the title against one of the most underrated talents in WWE today, Cesaro of the Bar. For someone that Vince McMahon isn't high on, Cesaro consistently performs in the ring at an amazing level. And last night, Rick, the title match with Roman Reigns was no exception, to say the least.
Absolutely. About 2 years ago, I actually sat down front row seat where Mick Foley was doing a stand-up at a nightclub, and I asked him that question, who was the most underrated wrestler? And before I finished, he said Cesaro. He goes, he should be in the main championship. He should be headlining WrestleMania.
Yeah, whether you like him or not, you have to respect what kind of a talent he is in WWE. Not to downtalk Roman Reigns in any way, shape, or form, because he's had some of his best matches, Rick, I believe, ever since The Shield reunited.
You know, a lot of people are fickle like that. You know, before the Shield got back, they were booing Reigns. They were saying he sucks and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And I've always liked Reigns. I've never really
me
said,
too.
you know.
Me too.
I mean, I did agree that he did need his work on some mic skills, but overall, I've liked him. But once the Shield reunited, they were cheering for Roman Reigns. It was like all of a sudden, like, oh no, what happened for the past year? Oh, nothing. Okay, you know.
Now,
But let me just make one last point. I do have to admit, though, should the Shield eventually break up, which we know it will, I think Roman should kind of step aside and come back with a new look, new music, new gimmick, everything.
I mean, I think that's what a lot of people were expecting when the Shield broke up the first time. Was it like 3 years ago? And they never went that route.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of fans kind of got turned off by it, because it's like, you're listening to the Shield, you have the Shield look, and, you know, but I think, you know, like I said, I've always been a fan of Reigns, and I think should he get a new look like they did with Rollins and Ambrose, he definitely has a chance to go even higher up the ladder.
Yeah, the majority of the match was basically Cesaro working over the right arm of Reigns, which presented the face of the match, which was Reigns, with an obstacle to overcome. One of my favorite spots of the whole match, Rick, was the Cesaro swing spot on the outside to the security railing. I gotta say, that was really well done.
Yeah, it was. And again, I gotta give props to Reigns, because he really sold that arm well. You know, Cesaro, of course, was dominating the majority of the match. He was constantly targeting the match. And once or twice you saw that Reigns had this kind of like, couldn't sell it because he had to do a certain move, but once the move was executed, he went right back to the arm. So it definitely was great. He got the win with the spear. The quality of the match was decent. It was good. I'd give it, you know, a 3 out of 5. You know, it wasn't phenomenal, but it was definitely one of the better matches of the night.
One of these days, WWE and Vince McMahon will recognize what a great talent Cesaro really is and put a WWE Championship on him. And notice I said WWE Championship and not Universal Championship. But anyway, this was a great match. By far, best match of the night. 4 out of 5. Up next, it was originally scheduled to be Asuka taking on Alicia Fox, but once again, Absolution would make their presence known to challenge the Empress of Tomorrow, who stood her ground against the group for a short while before being overwhelmed by the numbers of Absolution. That is, until the women's division came to Asuka's aid. Even the Enzo-obsessed Nia Jax was out there, who bowled over Mandy Rose. Did you find it quite odd that when they staved off Absolution, that the one theme that they would play out of everyone who was there would not be Asuka's theme, Rick, but it was Nia Jax's theme?
You know, it's kind of a rough call. You know, I mean, you know, you would think they would want to push Asuka, but they did the whole grand opening with Asuka, which, again, you know, she has that elegance mixed with badass, mixed with just outright sexy. And I think, you know, I think you choose like one of the last, Nia Jax I'm referring to was one of the last that came to the ring, so that's probably why. I don't think it was out of disrespect. I think it's just, okay, play this one, you know.
This is something the women's division on Raw and SmackDown Live have been lacking as of late. Storylines. Good, deliverable storylines. And on Monday Night Raw, in my personal opinion, the Absolution storyline delivers. And also, like I said earlier in the review, there may be some bigger YouTubers in the YWC who disagree with me, which is all good. I'm not saying that they're wrong for having a different opinion than mine. I never told Rick he was having his opinion of Matt Hardy was wrong. But like I said before, my channel, my review, my opinions. I'm going 3 out of 5 on this one, Rick.
I wouldn't go 3 out of 5. I mean, it was a good segment for what it was. I think it kind of knocked Absolution down a few notches because you had the entire roster, not just 2 or 3 people backing up, so it would have been a triple threat. So I'll give it a 2 out of 5. I mean, but again, it wasn't a match, so I think with the segment alone, that's a plus.
Up next, it was Samoa Joe taking on Dean Ambrose. One thing I did pick up on was the backstage promo with Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan. That led me to believe that Jordan was going to be involved in this match as he did. And sometimes, Rick, I just hate it when WWE just gets so predictable with their angles. I mean, anybody with a 5th grade education could probably tell the whole purpose of them having the promo before the match with Jason Jordan and Kurt Angle was to kind of reintroduce Jordan into the angle with Samoa Joe so for his eventual appearance, so that way people wouldn't be wondering, why is Jason Jordan out there?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna, go back even further, because I think the bigger storyline really is, as I've been saying, Baby Jordan versus, Daddy Angle, Daddy Kurt. When this whole debacle of a storyline started with Angle and Jordan, I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna kill Jordan's career, and. You could tell, I'm not looking for any opportunities, but he kept on asking, and you knew it was eventually going to come to with him, Jordan pulling a temper tantrum when he didn't get what he wanted.
Yeah. That
happened last week or the week before, and now we're seeing it again, and it's just like, oh, jeez, my brain is hurting. I'm like, could we have the Angle and Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan match feud to be over and move on? It's a hot mess.
And one could say that they broke up American Alpha, to me, at the wrong time.
Absolutely.
Jason Jordan was more prevalent with American Alpha because, to me, Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable just aren't really selling it as well as American Alpha could. No,
I agree.
I'm not gonna down talk Shelton Benjamin. Benjamin's a great talent, and so is Chad Gable. But there are certain mixtures that just don't mesh. And I think Benjamin and Gable are one of those things that just don't mesh. It's not the fact that they're bad talents per se. It's the fact that it's just not sellable. But
they don't have the chemistry, I think.
Yeah.
Again, all three of these wrestlers that you mentioned, like I said, Jason Jordan, I hate the gimmick because he does have talent. And the fact that they broke up a highly respected tag team that was over with the fans was a mistake, because again, they have, now that they have the brand splits and the tag teams and the women's teams are all mixed up, there's not a lot of competition, so they should have kept that tag team together. Why they did is beyond me. I think, if you ask me, it was they with the when it comes to Gable and Benjamin, I think they were trying to do the rehash of what was the Kurt Angle stable?
Team Angle.
Team Angle. I think that's what they should have done. And if they were going to do that, at least they should have had Kurt Angle as a manager.
Yep.
As pathetic as it was, they should have gone full tilt.
Also, was that backstage promo the only appearance Kurt Angle had on Monday Night Raw this week?
From what I remember, yes.
The finish of the match was Samoa Joe locking on the Kakita clutch on Ambrose to pick up the win. But I will admit, I was eating dinner during this match, so I can't really give it a fair assessment or score, but I did see Jason Jordan coming out because it was just so predictable, if not just for the backstage promo with Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan, but also with what happened last week between Samoa Joe and Jason Jordan. So I have no score for this one, Rick.
It's a 2 out of 5. I mean, don't get me wrong. Dean Ambrose and Samoa Joe are great workers, but even Michael Cole spent more time talking about Jason Jordan and Kurt Angle than they were focused on the match. But the match only lasted, it was it was a shorter match. I wouldn't call it a squash because of obviously Jason Jordan. And that was the focus. And it really, I think it did Ambrose and Samoa Joe an injustice, because I've seen them work together in matches and they are great. They can pull off a great match. So it was tainted.
Yep. The main event of Raw this week was Braun Strowman taking on Kane, with the winner getting a shot at Brock Lesnar, and the Universal Championship at the Royal Rumble. And Rick, I have to say, for two super heavyweights with very limited movesets, I really wasn't expecting much, but for what it was, I think it kind of delivered what they were trying to do.
Absolutely. I'm going to tell you, this is a 4 rating match for me. It was the best match of the night. All hell literally broke loose, and I got to give you Strowman, for a guy his size, he can move pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
he's like a freight train. He just doesn't stop. And obviously he ended a double count out, and now everybody's like, oh, what's gonna happen? What's this mean for the title? And I hope that when we saw all the tables being brought in, chairs, I'm hoping they will do a TLC match between Strowman and Kane. I don't want to see a triple threat at the Royal Rumble. Do not want to see it.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that we could kind of postulate a little bit about is where they're going with this, because you could kind of see them leaning towards that a little bit. But I gotta agree with you on that one with the usage of the tables, the chairs. We didn't get to see a ladder, and I really don't think a ladder could hold both Kane and Braun Strowman because they're a combined 700 pounds, and I think we would have to bring out a Big Show ladder just for those two. But I gotta say, I would like to see them have a rematch in that format, and then have the Royal Rumble Universal Championship match be a one-on-one match.
Absolutely. And well, like I said, the TLC probably, yeah, but more along the lines of a no-holds-barred hardcore match, what have you.
Or street fight, no disqualification, anything along those lines.
Must be a winner, yeah.
Yeah. But I think the really question I would like everyone in the comments to answer, this is my question, is whether or not a triple threat match with Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, and Kane would be a sellable main event for the Raw side of the Royal Rumble. Put your answers in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. But Rick, you already said 4 out of 5. I'm going to go slightly one down on that one, and I'm going to say 3 out of 5. Because overall score of Raw this week gets that 3 out of 5, with my personal best match of the night going to Reigns versus Cesaro for how great that match was. And again, like I said, Cesaro, one of the most underrated, underutilized talents. Even though he is a Raw Tag Team Champion, they could do so much more with him. They could really put the whole company on his back, and Cesaro could be the next Hulk Hogan, he could be the next John Cena, he could be the next Triple H if they utilize him properly. That's the key thing. And right now, even though he is a Raw Tag Team Champion, I don't think they're utilizing him properly. They could do so much more with him. And of course, worst segment of the night, going to Nia Jax's infatuation with Enzo, because it's just flat out scary as hell. Rick, over to you, your overall score and your picks for best and worst match or segment on Monday Night Raw this week.
Well, I'm going to give props to Reigns and Cesaro. That was a good match. But for me, match of the night definitely was Kane versus Strowman. It ended in a double count out, but just the moves and the spots that these two monsters did, and yes, pun intended, was absolutely incredible. I will say that, yes, the Nia Enzo storyline's a little freaky, but I'm sorry, worst segment of the night is the fucking Matt Hardy Bray Wyatt storyline. Worst segment in wrestling history. I don't care, you can name it. I mean, I would rather see Dixie Carter and Billy Corgan do a fucking promo.
Oh god,
that's how bad.
Anyway, guys, that's been our thoughts on Monday Night Raw this week. What would we want to know from you guys out there, the viewers and subscribers? Your thoughts on Monday Night Raw. What are your overall scores? What are your picks for best and worst match or segment of Monday Night Raw this week? Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. Be sure you put your comments in that comment section below. If you guys like this video, be sure you slam that like button. Like a champ. Rick, where can fans check you out on HWR?
Well, we are always every Wednesday night. Every Thursday night. Don't mind me. We join with Skuldron Joseph Knight, Lance, and the Hardcore Crew. We do Four Corner Rants live on Facebook. That's in the HWR chat room. Just look us up at Facebook, HWR chat room. Not hard to find. The hashtag's right there. So come on over. We do news, reviews. I also just did a recent game review on Battlefront 2. So that's what I also have been doing.
Would the question be the original Xbox version or the new one that just came out?
The new one that just came out, Battlefront 2.
Okay. And also, guys, don't forget to check me out live on Mixer every Monday through Friday at Mixer.com/WGS-TV. And if you guys want to see more of wrestling talk with awesome gameplays right here on WGS-TV, you know the two ways you got to do it. You got to link up the subscribe button and hit that bell icon to turn on notifications. That way you guys will never miss out on another video right here on my channel. So with that being said, with my special thanks to Rick Head of the Hardcore Wrestling Radio crew, be sure again you guys go to Facebook.com/group/HWR chat room to check them out. I'm your friendly neighborhood wrestling gamer, reminding all of you guys out there to stay awesome. Bye, guys.